G'day, this track profiles Digger's Track, which runs from Obriens Road all the way through to Chettle Road. This is one of the interesting tracks in the Wombat Forest area. It starts in the Lerderderg State Park and then goes into the Wombat State Forest. Here we are just going down the first section, so the track runs all the way down to the crossing at Diggers Creek. This track is easy. You could drive a two-wheel drive down there. At the bottom end of the track, you just turn left and that takes you into the Lerderderg campground, which you'll see in a moment. So this is really an alternative way to get into the Lerderderg campground. So here we are turning left and the road just takes you up the hill a little bit, maybe a K. Then it's a right hand turn and a short drive into the campground. So this is the top end of the campground. Really nice place to come and camp. We didn't show the bottom end because it was packed full of people. Back on Diggers Track. Here we are going over the mighty Diggers Creek crossing. And this is where the fun starts. So this is a proper four-wheel drive track. It is 100% a difficult rating. So if you're coming from this direction, you're going to have a good trip. I think the easier way is to come in from Chettle Road and then you're dropping down through all the rocks and whatnot. The track is extremely steep in a lot of sections, particularly as it climbs out of the valley. You can see that it's heavily rutted, and further up there's a fair bit of rock action as well. There's nothing to really trouble anyone on the first section. It's just heavily rutted. As you can see from the angle of the trees, these slopes are fairly steep. So there's a few spots where you need to be careful picking your lines through the ruts. For me, I felt like there was an obvious line through most sections, so hopefully most people would get through okay. Hell of a lot of fun driving through this track. So here we have the first of our bog holes. This track is notorious for having all these muddy bog holes everywhere. I generally try to avoid them, have a saying, mud equals money, and don't really get too fussed about trying to drown my car in mud. We always just pick our way through, just being careful as to whether they're deep or shallow. You can see there, I just take my time. Here's another one. Okay, so here comes the first obstacle of the track, and that is a dirty big rock step up halfway up the hill on a really steep slope. So this rock is probably a metre or so high and almost vertical. And as you can see, I took the right hand approach, swung the car around, didn't get up. So we rolled back, put the lockers in and hit the left hand, and up she went. The scrapes and marks on that rock tells me there's a lot of people coming to grief on that particular obstacle, and if you're a bit concerned about it, you're definitely better off coming from the north, from the Chettle Road direction, because you'll just roll straight over it. So here's another bypass track, and it would also been dug out, so this was unavoidable. So clearly this track is pretty popular, and a lot of guys are coming out here, smashing the place in through all the holes, which is great. I'm not convinced it's going to do us full drivers much good in the long term, because land managers just hate this stuff. Here's another interesting one. This time I decided it was just easier to go across the exposed section. A lot of fun driving this track. It's an awesome bit of bush. Despite all the mud, fantastic fun. And it took quite a good while to get up the track, probably an hour or so. Fantastic afternoon. Didn't see another four-wheel drive. So here we are coming around the corner, and what the hell is this mess coming up? I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This is some serious bog holes here. These holes are basically the Wombat version of the gunshot, just a smaller scale. There is a bypass track of sorts through this muddy rutted hole down here. That's on the western side of all those bog holes, so it is passable, and I wouldn't let this prevent you from driving down Digger's Track. So essentially that's almost at the top of the Digger's Track, so by the time you get through that mess, you got a short drive up the hill through a few holes, so you can see there's a couple to get around as well. Here we are coming on to Chettle Road, and that's the end of the track. I hope you found this video informative.